It has been upgraded to a Category 5 shitstorm.
I think you got to get the money out of the news business.
People have difficulty now just sorting out what's true and what's not.
Donald Trump encouraged you to do this show.
He did. He said to say hello.
Okay, well, tell him not to sue me again. It's my house. The Democrats have to stop being so nice. It's my house, baby. Whiny little bitch.
We must continue the political revolution.
Don't ever let them forget, we're still here. You know, it's no secret that climate change is real and we're all doomed. What's clear is that the grown-ups aren't going to do anything. So I decided to reach out to the kids and try to get their attention about global warming with my new children's book, Santa is Dead. Liberals tried to warn about climate change till their faces turned red, and then the polar ice caps did melt, and now Santa is dead. You're being alarmist, Republicans said, but Christmas is canceled because Santa is dead. Yes, Virginia, your letter was read. Get a grip, girl. I'm telling you, Santa is dead. His workshop is flooded. The reindeer have fled. You're not getting an Xbox because Santa is dead. The cookies have mercury. The sugar plum has lead. The eggnog is arsenic. And Santa is dead. So don't leave him cookies. Don't look for his sled. Don't wake us in the morning because Santa is dead. Merry Christmas, kids. Merry Christmas. My one question is, if a tape of Obama had come out at some point during his presidency where he said, hey, Fruity, give me a Tic Tac, because I'm thinking about kissing a woman I've never met, would there be any kind of outcry on the right? Or would you just also... Would that have just, like, gone by the boards and you would have said that's locker room talk?
One last question, since we brought up the subject, and it is about socialism. You saw the statistics on the economy. I recited them in the monologue. They're pretty amazing economy. Republicans always said Obama was a socialist. Does that mean they were wrong about that, or does socialism work? And when did you stop beating your wife? Dirty trick. I'm sorry. All right, thank you.
All these crises around the world, ISIS in Iraq and Syria taking over, and, of course, the war in the Middle East and what's happening in Ukraine with Putin. I noticed, since we have two people on the right here, the common thread seems to be that it's Obama's fault. And, you know, today I saw one of his chief advisors says he believes that they are going to go for impeachment. 57% of Republicans in the latest poll say they want him impeached. I think they wanted him impeached at the inaugural ball. I think the high crime he's guilty of is getting elected, but okay. I just want to know, what should he be doing differently? And be specific.
This president has zero respect in the world, and our enemies.
Say you ruined it already, Pat. I mean, first of all, there are polls of different countries around the world, because Mitt Romney said that when he was running for president, that I could show you, I don't have them with me today, I could show you that actually our standing in the world among almost all the countries is up since he got elected.
Except for the bad guys.
Except for the bad guys.
Did you think Vladimir Putin respects his president? I don't think so. And I think that's part of the problem. And there's a difference between...
Again, but what should Obama be doing that would make Putin respect him? Because he's already slapped all these sanctions on him.
It's called leadership.
It's called leadership. Remember when I said be specific? See, this is what you always... It's called leadership. Well, excuse my French, but what the does that mean? It's called leadership.
And finally, new rule, before leaving this election behind, we must all thank Donald Trump for the one good thing he did. He exposed evangelicals who are big Trump supporters as the shameless hypocrites they've always been. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but Republicans didn't get to play the Jesus card this time around because it's hard to bring up the Ten Commandments when your candidate spent his life breaking all of them. Trump's commandments are like the regular commandments with LOL at the end. Adultery? Check. Cursing?
Listen, you motherfuckers.
Check. Stealing? Check. Bearing false witness?
Wrong.
Check. False idols? Oh, yeah. He is the world's least godly man. Jesus saw the good in whores and lepers, but if he met Donald Trump, he'd go, sorry, man, that's a pre-existing condition. And finally, new rule in the next debate, when Donald Trump starts going on about how everything in this country is a total disaster, Hillary must lean into the mic and say, wrong!
The American dream is dead.
And then there's the facts. Remember them? Facts. So old school, aren't they? But they tell us the country is actually in pretty good shape. Violent crime at its lowest since 1970. The military, better funded than ever. Trump says our health care is a horror show. But more Americans have insurance than ever. Fewer are smoking. Cancer is down. Teen pregnancy is down. Alcohol abuse is down. Somehow Dick Cheney is still alive. 8 years ago, we were losing 800,000 jobs a month. Now we've added 14 million. The stock market went from under 7,000 to over 18. Consumer sentiment is as high as it was in the 80s under St. Reagan. The economy today is actually better than the one Mitt Romney promised in 2012 when he said he would get unemployment under 6. Trump says, you have great economists that will tell you the unemployment rate is 32. No, every economist knows it's 5 because they get their numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, not from the Department of I'm hearing. If Mitt Romney were running on this economy, the people with the Make America Great hats would have re-elect Romney stickers on their rascal scooters. But the president isn't a white man with an R next to his name, so it's Flight 93. You know, I've read so much crap about how Trump voters are hurting, and we should respect their anger and their pain. It's a myth that the media swallowed whole. The average Trump primary voter makes $72,000 a year. No more likely to be hurt by immigration or trade or to be out of work. Donald Trump doesn't really have solutions, and his supporters don't really have problems. The only thing poor about them is their judgment. New rule, scientists have to stop studying things we already know. At the University of Toronto, they found that post-sex affection, in other words, cuddling, quote, promotes relationship satisfaction. Really? So doing it with my pants on and then jumping out the window was wrong? Next up, a study on how men don't like it when you point at their penis and go, are you kidding me? New rule, if an airline mixes up your kid with another kid, flies them both to the wrong cities, then reunites them with the wrong mothers, like JetBlue did last month, don't automatically assume it's a bad thing. The other kid may be smarter or better looking. In which case, don't think of it as losing a son. Think of it as a free upgrade. New rule, mixologists have to understand something. You care way more about this than we do. This doesn't make me think, wow, I'm so impressed with your advisory. It makes me think, screw it, just give me a beer. New rule, someone must tell Microsoft, who are introducing software that tracks marijuana plants from seed to sale, don't. I don't need all that. I'm going to smoke it, not date it. If you want to help out stoners, invent an app that tracks where they left their lighter. Nero, the cast of Hamilton, who performed on the Tony Awards without their prop muskets to raise awareness for gun control, must next buy a ticket to Hamilton to raise awareness for income inequality.
Excuse me.
All right. Just a few months ago, polls showed Americans were sick of war, that had enough. They were anxious to stay out of the Middle East. Then they saw 2 beheadings, and overnight, they were like, oh, war, we can't stay mad at you. You know, conservatives love to vilify anyone who doesn't want to immediately throw down as appeasers. But when you're dealing with terrorists whose aim is to bait us into overreaction and you oblige them, aren't you the appeaser? Well, it's been 13 years since 9/11, the day when our first responders rushed into action and got all the Saudi Arabians out of the country. But we still don't seem to have learned that for terrorism to work, it takes 2. They're selling terror, and boy, are we buying. Lindsey Graham, the Senate's own Blanche Dubois, is the scaredest person in the world. He and John McCain are like the ghost of Mr. Chicken. When there's lightning, McCain has to let Lindsey sleep in the bed and sing to him the Raindrops on Roses song. Lindsey said that ISIS is so all-powerful. If the president doesn't rise to the occasion, we're all going to get killed back here at home. He actually said that, and then collapsed onto his fainting couch. Republican Trent Franks said that ISIS currently is on the U.S. border, and that there's no question that they have designs on coming into Arizona. Oh my God, the brown people and the other brown people are going to hook up. Mexicans and ISIS sneaking into the country together. They're going to cut our heads off with a hedge trimmer. Now, look. Look, I feel bad about the journalists who were killed, and I admire greatly their courage to go to the most dangerous place in the world. But it was their choice, and when you choose to live among cutthroats, you might get your throat cut. Do Americans living here really think they're going to be next? One day it happens in the desert outside Mosul, and the next day you're standing in line for the new iPhone and... Get a grip! Would we be this terrified if ISIS didn't make videos and wear black and have a scary name? ISIS. Sounds like they should be fighting the X-Men. ISIS. It's simultaneously cool sounding and stands for pure evil. Like Monsanto. Monsanto, who we recently learned puts an ingredient in Roundup, their ubiquitous crop spray, called polyethoxylated toluamine, that is far more toxic than anyone realized. Folks, ISIS isn't going to kill you. Things like polyethoxylated toluamine, that's what's going to kill you. But try selling that idea in the United States of pants shitters. Actually, to her credit last week, Hillary Clinton did try. She said climate change is the most consequential, urgent, sweeping collection of challenges we face. A statement that outraged Republicans because it contained the 2 things they simply will not abide: science and truth. I'm not saying that there aren't people out there who want us dead. I'm just saying there are much more likely killers right here.
But for us, it's only real when it's on a video that Anderson Cooper warns us not to watch and then shows 10,000 times. Our top story tonight, boo! And when we come back, I've got your nose. But you know what? Climate change doesn't stand a chance because you can't capture rising sea levels on a 6-second Vine video. What we need to do is to get a polar bear to punch someone in an elevator. Thank you. That's our show. And finally, new rule with Mother's Day and Father's Day coming up. We all must agree that the best gift an American kid can give his parents is to sit them down and say, Mom, Dad, we need some space. Now, it's true I never had kids, but maybe that gives me some objectivity. And what I see in the generation coming up is these kids are more anxious than a squirrel on crystal meth. And that's not because the kids have changed. It's because the parents have. They're called helicopter parents because they're always hovering, too protective, too always on the case, too always just there. Now, if we can only get them to work for the Secret Service. So, this topic has been much in the news lately because there are now families going against the grain who want to raise their children, guided by the radical concept of occasionally letting them out of their sight. A movement that has been dubbed free-range parenting. Or as we used to call it, parenting. Actually, we didn't even call it that because parenting wasn't a word, because being a parent wasn't a job description. In the 70s, parenting meant you woke up, went to your kid's room. If they were alive, you were done for the day. Crib monitors? Why? What are they going to do? Turn into werewolves in the middle of the night? But that's not how most parents see it these days. And there have been cases of free-range parents running up against the law. A couple in Silver Spring, Maryland, has twice had their kids, 10 and 6, picked up by the cops for walking home alone from the park, which is all of 2 blocks away. Jeez, I walked farther than that to school every day when I was a kid that age and nobody cared. In fact, my mother always looked a little disappointed when I came back. I mean, what kind of country do we live in where the sight of a kid walking alone in his own neighborhood requires a call to 911? Were these kids being chased by a clown with his dick out? Then shut up and go back to watching Judge Judy. We're talking about Silver Spring, Maryland. It's not that perilous. The most dangerous thing out in the fresh air is probably the fresh air. When did we get this idea that children should never endure even the slightest risk or experience any disappointment? If the ice cream truck doesn't come, the parents panic and double-strap the kids in the car and rush over to Baskin-Robbins, where they disinfect the table and test the cones for gluten. Ooh, fun. And for what? A new study confirms that all this excess time with kids is not having a positive effect. Kids, free to engage the world on their own a bit, wind up coming out happier and more creative than the ones who have to put on a helmet to take out the garbage. Let the little bastards breathe a little. Do you know that American kids now spend 90% of their leisure time at home, plopped on the couch, watching TV, playing video games? We're not raising citizens, we're fattening veal calves. And all because we think outside is where the baby snatchers are, and inside is where it's safe. Right. Inside, where the pornography is at their fingertips 24/7. I have news for you. That's the thing that's going to really fuck them up for the rest of their lives. When I was a kid, it was a thrill to find an old Playboy in the neighbor's garage. But now every 10-year-old can whip out his phone and in seconds be looking at a team of Japanese businessmen ejaculating on a squid. And if that doesn't convince you parents, nothing will. I have to move on right now. The new rule. All right. New rule, stop saying that the two-tiered debate format is turning the Republican presidential race into a reality TV show. No, it's more like the Westminster Kennel Club dog show. You know, where the dogs compete in separate categories. The big dogs that bark a lot and slobber. And the small dogs that wear sweaters and prance. New rule, the makers of the pot of gold at the... It's real, folks. It's real. The makers of the pot of gold at the end of the Rainbow St. Patrick's Day cookie cutter have to stop wondering why the cookies come out soft. It's not you, honey. It's St. Patrick's Day. A guy has a little too much to drink. It could happen to anyone. Have a cookie. New rule, let Bill Cosby keep his Medal of Freedom, but maybe put a bell in it. New rule, experts must assure the conservatives who think this video of President Obama in Kenya shows a demon racing across the screen. Let's see that again. Oh, definitely. That was absolutely a demon. That was not an out-of-focus boom microphone. No, it was a hideous demon right from hell. And friends, the only way to get rid of a demon like that is by sending your prayers along with a check to Lighthouse Ministries, care of the Reverend William Maher. That's Lighthouse Ministries, care of the Reverend William Maher. Remember, the more you give, the quicker that demon will get nuked. God bless. New rule. People posting emotional tearjerker videos on Facebook have to come up with a more original tagline than "Get your tissues ready." Sure, it warns women that they're about to have a good cry, but when a man sees "Get your tissues ready," he's thinking of something else entirely. New rule, before you get baptized in the ocean, you might want to learn how to swim. This week, a baptism on the California coast went horribly wrong when the waves swept one of the participants out to sea. Note to evangelicals, take a hint from the Catholics. They use a marble bowl in the back of the church. There's less drowning that way. Also, everyone who was so mad at me for calling God a psychotic mass murderer a couple of weeks ago has to admit he's at least kind of a douchebag. New rule, when a Girl Scout knocks on your door selling cookies, don't be like John Dodrill of Temecula, California, and answer pointing a gun. John, if you're watching, here's how you can tell a Girl Scout from a crazed serial killer. Number one, she's a Girl Scout. Number two, there isn't any number two. She doesn't want to rape your wife and steal your truck and make you buy Obamacare. She just wants to sell you some Thin Mints. Now, if Jehovah's Witnesses come to the door, get your gun. That's a different story. Everybody, new rule. New rule, stop sending me this photo of a Trump rally with the sign, "Thank you, Lord Jesus, for President Trump." It's not the sign that worries me, it's the baby. That look on his face says, "I have seen the future and I want back in the womb." New rule, don't judge how poorly the stock market is doing based on the reaction of the traders on the floor. They flip out over everything. These guys pictured here are just ordering coffee. That's so true. New rule, Fox News must capitalize on the current mood of their viewers and create their very first children's show, Anchor Babies. Laugh and learn along with Jesus, Wang, and Muhammad as they steal your hearts the way they stole their citizenship. They're adorable and they're deportable. They're adorptable. New rule, someone must explain to the Missouri woman who saw an image of Donald Trump in it. In a tub of margarine that's not an image, that's actually Donald Trump. Yes. It's true. Every night at midnight, he must return to his plastic tub and assume his natural state, a viscous, oily goo, because Donald Trump is actually a vampire made of vegetable oil, condemned to an eternity of anger tweeting until somebody spreads him over corn. Nero, you can get mad at this fat kid for tripping at the museum and punching a hole in a 350-year-old painting worth $1.5 million, but you've got to give him credit. He doesn't drop his soda. USA, USA. Nero, Americans who couldn't get interested in the World Cup, no matter how hard they tried, have to stop feeling guilty about it. It doesn't mean that we're not sophisticated. All it proves is that unemployed people will watch anything. On the bright side, it has reminded the German people how good it feels to be whipped into a nationalistic frenzy, and what could go wrong with that? Nero, the woman in England who spent $30,000 on plastic surgery to look like Kim Kardashian needs to spend a little more. At this point, the only black celebrity she could make a sex tape with is Stevie Wonder. They don't get the show in England. It's okay. She'll never hear. New rule, now that Marvel Comics has announced their superhero Thor is now a woman, they have to promise not to make Spider-Man gay. Because I can't think of a more offensive name for a gay man than Peter Parker. Oh, my. New rule, with all the things going on in the world, John Kerry must understand this is not the time to play I Believe I Can Fly. Plus, John, look around. They're Asians. All they're thinking is, clearly he did not master his string instrument by age 3. New rule, the Pope is a pimp. I'm serious. I find myself wanting to ask this Pope a question I've never wanted to ask a Pope before. Can I party with you? Nero, I'm not saying the Japanese can't make an iPhone case molded on an actual human vagina. Yes, they did. I'm just saying they have to tell us why. It's awkward enough butt dialing now. And who can keep up? I'm still using my dictaphone. All right, new rule. Malaysian authorities have claimed, in all seriousness, that the earthquake near Mount Kinabalu was caused by tourists taking nude photos on the mountain. Must be told they're being ridiculous. Ask anyone here in modern America. Natural disasters are not caused by tourists and nude photos. They're caused by abortion and gay marriage. New rule, the geniuses who just announced Apple Music, the new killer app that features professional humans instead of machines constructing real-time playlists, have to be congratulated for inventing radio. New rule, if Disneyland has to make a rule not to use selfie sticks on the roller coasters, then the magic of this kingdom is that people this stupid got this far. Or maybe they need even more signs, like mermaid can breathe underwater, but not you. Large duck in sailor suit, not real duck, do not eat. New rule, from now on, all religions must perform this ritual. I don't know what it is. This guy could be getting baptized. He could be getting punked. Who cares? Genghis Khan is pimp slapping him with a wet cross. It's perfect. It's perfect. Especially for people who think gay pride parades are weird. Thank you. Thank you, sir. New rule, if you get in a fist fight at Walmart that starts with you getting out of your rascal scooter and ends with you telling your 5-year-old,
Johnny, punch her in her fucking face!
you're white trash. Yeah. And from now on, these videos... From now on, these videos have to end like one of those movies where everyone gets a freeze frame and a where are they now? Star of TLC's Here Comes Tubby Punch Punch. Governor of Alaska. And police officer Orange County.
Real time with Bill Maher. Ask Bill and his guests your questions right after the show at HBO.com.
All right, and welcome back to Politically Incorrect. My guests are Arsenio Hall and Bobcat Goldthwait, and isn't it great to be back in 1997?
Yes.
Oh, look at this old home week for the comics.
It is.
Remember when we were the young comedians?
Yeah.
Oh, what happened?
Sad, really.
Oh.
Now I look like your Dorian Gray painting.
Oh, God.
Hey, Ron, you guys were talking about, back in the day, my line on Rodney King was, if you ever see me getting beaten by the police, put the video camera down and help me.
That's a great joke.
Now it'd be the phone, but, to bring it into the new millennium.
But you have kids, right?
Yes, yes.
You have a kid? Somebody I know who has a kid said, now that I have a kid, if a guy was driving 100 miles an hour through my neighborhood, I would want the police to wail on him.
Wow.
Well, kids change you.
Yeah.
Well, if I didn't like my kids...
I'm just saying, that's what somebody said.
That's what somebody said.
I just thought that was interesting from the first people with child perspective.
I remember the first time I saw the video, I was like, that brother must have done something. Because they were whipping his ass so vehemently. It was like, what? I couldn't believe that he hadn't done anything.
Well, he did drive through a neighborhood.
He was going fast.
Yes, he was going fast. I agree. I agree that does not justify beating a man on the ground.
Just give me the ticket.
You had some involvement with that, did you not?
Yeah, it was very interesting from my perspective, learning at the foot of a black man about black people.
How?
Yeah, especially about the history of black people in our country, which is not a sterling history. And to have this happen, and to have George Herbert Walker Bush, then the president, of course, turn to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Powell, and say, we need to do something. We need to federalize the Guard out in California. We need to do something. We need to restore order and so forth. And Powell said, wait a minute. Let me, Mr. President, give you some facts. And they had a really good discussion, and Bush stood down.
That was the old Republican Party.
Yeah, that was the old Republican
They listened to facts. That is a quaint notion.
Bill, can I ask? I'm a huge fan of Colin Powell. What did you learn from him about black people in their history that you didn't know already?
I learned that I had such a void in my historical knowledge of this country, from its colonial period to the World War II period, that I was ignorant. And he put me in the books, and he put me with the people. I interviewed over 750 World War II veterans. And I kept asking them over and over again, why? Why? Why would you come back to a country that treats you like it does? Why did you fight for this country? And I got the same answer every time. It's my country too. And one day it might live up to its beliefs.
Okay. Here's a question for you from M. Sturgos. What advice would you give a potential candidate who confides he has had an extramarital affair?
Don't admit to it. No, I'm kidding.
Shut up. That's the
Always
advice.
go to the Eddie Murphy Shaggy thing. Wasn't me.
Yeah. Right. Remember Shaggy?
Yes. Wasn't me.
Actually, just whatever you do, don't lie about it. If you get caught, you've got to fess up. That's the first thing, first and foremost. Because they'll always find out.
If you were John Edwards, would you have fessed up?
At what point? I mean, he had so many opportunities. But yeah, he should have. Once he got caught, you come up. Someone's always going to talk. I promise you, there's always someone who's going to talk.
You know what we don't have very much conversation in this country about? What a great family man we have in the Oval Office right now.
Yes.
I mean, you know, with Barack Obama, there's no honky tonk. There's no side stories. There's you know.
You never have to honk if you get rid of the honky.
There's no garbage. There's no crap. I mean, he's
he has to be the Jackie Robinson of politics, as I always say. Because if he makes one wrong move, this experiment with the black president, as we were talking about, is over.
If there had been a Shaquita someplace on the south side of Chicago,
do you think? But do you really think that the people that President Obama motivated back in 2008? I mean, the youth vote came out. I think a lot of young people didn't see color when they voted for President Obama. I think there were people that did, but the group that he motivated, and this is why the Democrats got behind him instead of Hillary, seriously, because he could bring in a whole new generation of young people and get them into the political process where they thought demographically Hillary really couldn't do that.
And that's the problem with the Republican Party is that they're not embracing change and they're not getting younger people in that are much more aware and much more
outside of the wealthy, you don't want anybody. You don't want women. You don't want the young people. You don't want students.
If I get back to the question, I mean, conversely, I mean, Sarah Palin famously at the convention had a pregnant daughter. You know, where I guess was she pregnant?
She lost.
She had the baby.
Newt Gingrich.
Oh no, the girl was with child.
Yes.
Okay. We cannot
by the way,
really
in the ghetto in the barbershop, it's like, you know that's Sarah's baby, bro. You know, but I just got to keep you in touch with the barbershop.
But conversely, can we really, even in America, picture if Barack Obama had the similar situation, if his daughter was pregnant? I mean, it just is inconceivable that America would accept that as they did with Sarah Palin. So that's so much for your post-racial America, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
President Obama said the kids are off limits.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
but we're also just used to seeing hillbillies pregnant. It's not that weird.
That's right.
It's really.
So true.
You don't even see it, you know.
That's right. That's right.
There's an Uncle Dad somewhere.
Right, exactly.
One of the reasons I wasn't going to vote for Jesse because I didn't want a first lady and a first baby's mama in the White House.
Right.
You know, and you know what he was going through at that time.
Right, exactly.
So Obama, I'm incredibly proud of his past, his present, and I'm looking forward to his future.
Right, I am too. Okay, Colonel Wilkinson, are you concerned with neoconservatives' resurgence in the Republican Party and the calls to attack Iran?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see some of the same people making some of the same statements. They're even reading off the same sheet of music, John Bolton and others. This is another war in Western Asia for the United States would be catastrophic. And the president, very bravely, courageously, defying people like John McCain and Lindsey Graham and other stalwarts of my party, has started down a negotiating track that has every reason to succeed if people just let him do it.
Isn't it funny that, in a way, the Obama method is sort of the opposite of the Powell doctrine, which was overwhelming force?
Decisive force.
Okay, but Obama seems to use the least amount, like to get Libya, to get Gaddafi, $1 billion, as opposed to $1 trillion to get Saddam Hussein. The Somali pirates, Newt Gingrich said, let's invade. No, a couple of snipers took him out, drones, you know, the Bin Laden raid. He seems to do what Mitt Romney loves in business, be super efficient.
Yeah. I won't dispute that, but I will say that that's a dangerous road to walk down if you're not closing the door. And what I mean by that is Libya is still a huge question. Afghanistan is still a huge question. Iraq is still a huge question. Right now, Syria is blowing up, and Maliki on the one hand is funding one side of Syria. Muqtada al-Sadr is funding another side of Syria. So this kind of delicate Democrat gradual response walking into Vietnam is not necessarily the best. I stick with Powell.
Gosh, back in the 90s, fellas, blowing up meant get popular, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we're going to go enjoy a reminiscence backstage.
Yeah. Oh, this is over?
This is over. Yeah, we're way over. We're just having too good of a time.
This isn't even on TV.
Yeah, this isn't even on TV. It's the internet. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Real time with Bill Maher. Ask Bill and his guests your questions right after the show at HBO.com.
What do you feel is the biggest threat to our national security today? And how would you grade the Obama administration's anti-terrorism performance?
I think they've done a great job on anti-terrorism.
So A?
Oh, yeah, A+.
Oh, A+.
But that doesn't mean there's no more threat. That doesn't mean there's no more threat. You know, people say he shouldn't take credit for what he's done. But I'll tell you, if something blows up, they're going to blame him. So he should take credit for what he's done because he will also be blamed if it doesn't work.
Okay. Jay Madera says, why don't we go back to Reagan times when the wealthy paid a lot more in taxes? Did they?
Well, okay, it depends whether Reagan had a top marginal tax rate of 28%. We're at 35.
And how many times did Reagan
up to 45? He signed too many tax increases. And the good news is we learned from 82, which was the significant one, when the Democrats offered him $3 of spending cuts for every dollar of tax increase. The tax increase is real. We're still paying it. And none of the spending cuts actually happened. They doubled spending rather than $2 of spending cuts for every dollar of tax increase.
And Bill, the real problem is that the very, very wealthiest people in America now have these devices where they don't pay any taxes. Remember the McCourts who own the Dodgers didn't pay any taxes, state or federal, for 7 years, I believe. If you are very, very wealthy now, Wall Street has come up with products that will allow you to live tax-free. If you're a billionaire.
So you should check into that.
First, you need $1 billion.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, Eva, this is for you. The African-American community tends to be more conservative on the gay issue. What do you think the Latino response will be to Obama coming out for gay marriage? You know, why do the minorities hate on the gays?
No, we don't hear it. First of all, to generalize about the Latino view is really irresponsible because we're a faction group. But it's
the Bible.
Well, because we're Catholic. A lot of us are Catholic. A huge majority are Catholic. But what's interesting is the study just came out that said Latinos don't take that issue to the polls. That's like 400th on their
Actually,
list.
most people don't take that issue to the polls.
Right. It's not a
people tend to
topic.
vote on kitchen table issues, fiscal issues, national
But
security
that's
issues,
not to
social
say,
issues last. And this is even proved in the Bush administration,
right, and it's
in the
not
Bush
to say
re-election
that
campaign.
Latinos are not conservative or not for it. And also, if you look at the demographic of Latinos, we're the youngest ethnicity in the United States, and we're only getting younger. And being young is indicative of being more accepting and tolerant of alternate lifestyles.
If it wasn't for religion, it wouldn't be an issue at all.
Right.
But, I mean, it really does come from a religion. It's you know.
In North Carolina, it was through the black churches. I haven't seen an analysis of other states, but that's also where you'd want to do your voter turnout. So there's a little bit of a conflict there that Obama's going to run into.
What does the panel think of J.P. Morgan losing $2 billion doing the same risky investing that caused the 2008 crash?
I love that question.
Okay, go ahead.
When George W. Bush's administration bailed out Wall Street and started the bailout of Detroit, when they bailed out Wall Street, nothing changed. Nobody lost money on their bets. The executives still get paid the same way. We still don't have Glass-Steagall. Nothing has changed except we've given them a lot of our tax dollars. When the Obama administration bailed out the auto industry, everybody took a haircut. The shareholders got wiped out. The CEO and the janitor both took haircuts.
UAW
and
took a major haircut.
Yes, they did.
But disproportionately, the secured bondholders didn't.
Yeah, those were
nearly as
healthcare
well as
claims.
the
No, they didn't. But everybody took a haircut, and the executives who had deferred compensation lost half that money. Everybody took a loss. That's the difference about how the two administrations treated it.
I think the real thing here with J.P. Morgan is, the Republicans in the House said we don't need more regulation. Dodd-Frank wasn't necessary. This is proof Dodd-Frank was necessary. They're still doing all the stuff they were doing in 2008.
Dodd-Frank is the law of the land, and this happened. How did Dodd-Frank fix it?
Because it hasn't been implemented.
Because it hasn't been implemented.
That's right.
It hasn't been implemented.
Right.
We've been regulating.
Dodd-Frank does not address fiscal credit default swaps adequately. It doesn't.
Why doesn't it? Why doesn't it?
Yes.
Because the Republicans in the House wouldn't allow them to do that in the bill.
Right.
Dodd-Frank passed, but the Democrats had a majority in the House. No Republicans had any ability to have any influence.
But the bankers who produce 40% of the profits in this country now have enormous influence in Washington. We have been regulating banking since Hammurabi. Okay? And we knew how to regulate banking up until we decided, starting in 1980, with a series of acts to stop regulating bankers. You got to regulate banking. It is the crucial central industry you have to regulate. There are a lot of things we can get rid of regulation, not finance. Because you do unlimited damage.
Except evidently Fannie and Freddie.
Right.
Who were forced by and pushed into buying when they weren't buying toxic mortgages, and they were criticized by Wall Street. Wall Street said, they're not buying these things. They're going to lose market share. So they started buying them. And you look at the Financial Crisis Industry Commission report, inquiry report, and it shows they acted much better than anybody on Wall Street.
Is there any amount of income inequality that is bad? Any amount?
Well, the question is why you have it. I mean, do you have income inequality because the government's got programs that keep poor people poor? I mean, the Davis-Bacon Act was originally passed to keep African Americans out of government jobs.
Davis-Bacon Act.
Well,
Hammurabi.
I know more about Hammurabi than I know about
Davis-Bacon is in law now. Hammurabi's passed away. But that's a law that was deliberately set up for reasons of protecting organized labor against black workers, and it makes...
What year was this law passed?
Late 1920s.
Yeah.
Oh, the 20s.
It's still law of the land.
It's still law of the land. It requires a minimum
Democrats
wage.
keep voting for it.
And Grover's right. There were some racist aspects to it, but it was also
they said it on the floor of the Senate and the House when they passed it.
But its function is also going to take blue-collar workers like my brother, who's a ditch digger, and see to it that they got a living wage, which most Americans don't have now. And by the way, the problem with inequality, people should be paid according to the merits of how well they work and their success, but what we're doing in this country is taking massive amounts of tax dollars and quietly funneling them up to the richest people in America. That's the real problem with inequality. It's a government policy creating people who didn't earn the money.
Yeah, any government program that takes money from someone and hands it to someone else is suspect. Sure.
How is the ditch digging industry going?
Pretty bad. And by the time you're my brother's age, he's 60, you're busted up and you can't work anymore. Nobody will hire you. They want young people.
Right, but Americans aren't taking those jobs. We'll meet the Mexicans.
Go ahead.
Well, I went and talked to one of the guys responsible for defending the Davis-Bacon Act, and he was saying, please help us raise taxes to do more of this stuff. And I said, instead of raising taxes, how about getting rid of your Davis-Bacon, which keeps the cost up 25 to 33%. His response was, do you want all our highways built by Hispanics? So the good news is that this disgusting racist law is still a disgusting racist law. They just have a different target. That's your government at work.
What if, of all the problems we have in America...
It's a major problem and we could fix it. Why? I would think you'd be out there going, yes, let's get rid of something like that.
Maybe I am.
Okay, good.
Since I've never heard
we got rid of farm subsidies and Davis-Bacon so far today.
Davis-Bacon, believe me, it's going to be on my breakfast table tomorrow morning. Bacon, no. Davis-Bacon, that's what I want to hear about. But of all the things, is this really the top priority? You seem so worked up about Davis-Bacon.
Well, it's a major injustice and it's wrong. And if you wonder why your roads aren't very well built,
middle class.
I'm sorry, higher wages lead to worse roads? That's a difficult stretch.
But
No, what Davis-Bacon does is it raises the cost of all building of roads and all building of bridges and so
less
on.
workers are more
And it
efficient
means-
because they're paid more.
But in the big picture, Grover, like I just read this week that corporate profits are finally back to their pre-recession levels, 15% of GDP, and yet they have given no money